Your discretion is advised. This video discusses the sensitive topic of gender identity. If your mental state is not in a place where you can handle watching something that you might find discomforting or disagreeable, please click off now and go do something that'll actually make you happy. And if it's serious, please go get help or medical assistance. Your safety and your happiness is important to me. And if you do intend to watch, please be sure to watch through to the end. You might miss something if you don't. I was shocked. I had just learned about people who identified with a gender opposed to the one they were born with, or that they abandoned gender altogether. But I didn't understand. Society had taught me we shouldn't be afraid of the person we are, that all people of all kinds are beautiful, that it didn't matter if we're a boy or a girl, black or white, skinny or fat, disabled or impaired. We're beautiful and should be proud of the person we are despite what others may say. And yet, was society also teaching that it's alright to be dissatisfied with yourself? That if you're not comfortable in your own skin, you should change it? I wasn't sure where the drawn line was anymore. If a fat girl said she was uncomfortable in her body and wanted to be skinnier, people would say that she's still beautiful and shouldn't worry about how she looked. The same people would then say to a boy who was uncomfortable with his gender and wanted to be a girl, that he should embrace the gender change, that he'd be a wonderful girl. I didn't get it. It felt like I was being surrounded by hypocrites. With passing time, I learned about people who identified as different races, ages, and even species. And yet, these people were generally labeled as mentally disabled. Crazy. These people had something wrong with them, and only these people. I didn't get it. If someone can just change their gender, does gender even matter anymore? If gender doesn't matter, why should we care about any differences between them? What's special about being a man? What's special about being a woman? Was the women's rights movement a waste of time? All the development that society has made over the years towards gender equality? Was all that effort just going in the wrong direction, with the wrong purpose in mind? If genders can be switched so easily, why should it be an important factor of our identity? This wasn't sitting right with me. There are people who feel terrible in their own skin, and some even unable to feel comfortable until their bodies change to physically match with how they view themselves. It's terrible to hate your own body. I bet these people know how the physically impaired feel. People born without arms or legs or without some regular body part or function. They must feel terrible in their own skin, without having practically any way to change their current circumstance. And yet, I've heard different. There have been dozens, hundreds, and most likely thousands, if not millions of accounts of disabled people coming to terms with their own body, learning to accept and love themselves for who they are, even if they are different from most or wish that there were some surgical procedure to give them fully functioning bodies. What was going on? If someone who's lost an arm or can't see can learn to be happy in their own body, why couldn't someone who doesn't resonate with their own born gender? I was trying to wrap my head around this. How would someone even know they were born with the wrong gender? What did that even mean? Growing up, society would put into my head what designated being a boy or a girl. Girls like romance. Boys don't. Girls like the color pink. Boys don't. Girls are gentle while boys are aggressive. Girls are afraid while boys are brave. I now know that any society's designation for gender roles does not the gender make, and our society has been realizing that as well. A gender is not defined by likes or dislikes, hobbies, personalities, or apparel. What I found that truly sets a man and a woman apart is biology. Women are designed to bear children, men are not. And it's that sole factor that develops our whole bodies. From bodily functions like respiration or menstrual cycles, to chemical makeup that creates patterns in the brain, down to the very build of our skeleton. Although that's not to say each body turns out the same. Some men are shorter than some women, Some women have more muscle mass than some men, but the body as a whole still shows a remarkable difference, and doctors are very aware of this fact and thus explains why they're so insistent on knowing your born gender. Because the male and female body are different and develop differently, they're going to require different medical attention. Still, that perceptive difference that society puts in our heads has us conclude that there's more to gender difference. Aggressive, compassionate, sympathetic, courageous, artsy, and the list goes on of terms used to define one's personality that are sorted as either a masculine or feminine trait. A trait that's either typically found in women or in men. Now, stereotypes don't usually come out of nowhere. They generally have a pretty concrete foundation to go off of. Yes, men tend to get into more fights, and yes, women are more likely to cry while watching a sad film. But again, these are traits that can be found in both genders. Plenty of women have masculine traits and plenty of guys have feminine traits. Every single person I've met have qualities that are stereotypical of a man and stereotypical of a woman. Being different in personality makes us human, makes each one of us unique and special in our own way, and we're still fighting for that to be accepted. Boys are still harassed for having any feminine qualities. Girls are slandered for having any masculine qualities. Are we not supposed to fight those standards? Are we not supposed to be comfortable with our own selves, within our own bodies, despite societal stereotypes? I thought the answer was yes, but then, why do I feel that people are just tossing all of that out the window? Again, how would someone be aware of belonging to a different gender? I hope they don't say that they just know, because that's a kind of answer without any true thought behind it. It's like if you ask someone what their favorite color is, and they respond red. You then ask why, with them responding with something like, "There's no reason why, it just is." You're not entirely convinced that's true, or that the answer will remain the same for very long. Or maybe they're not able to put it into words, but there is indeed a reason. Maybe they like the way the color looks on them. Maybe it subconsciously reminds them of a relative who dyed their hair red. Maybe it reminds them of their country's flag, giving them a sense of national pride. Every answer, every belief has some sort of foundation or reasoning behind it. For anyone who came about doubting their gender, I hope they didn't take the matter lightly, because I've also learned about people who've detransitioned. People who thought they were making a decision that would lead them to a better sense of self, only finding out later that was a mistake. And this apparently happens more often than what people are led to hear. People who've sought guidance from friends, family, doctors, psychiatrists, or general supporters of gender transition would hardly be given any regard towards actually investigating what they were experiencing, and instead be given nearly an instant conclusion that they were indeed living life as the wrong gender, and should therefore change it. People with eating disorders or fighting against social anxieties would find themselves turned in a direction that said their gender was to blame for their suffering. Soon, these people would realize that was not the answer and be saddened by the lack of professionalism actually given towards their dilemma. Why is humanity so quick to judge? To jump to conclusions between right and wrong? The moment someone goes against anyone's morals or beliefs, they're attacked with a relentless onslaught. Another thing society has hypocritically raised me to believe is that we should treat everyone with equal kindness and caring regard to their own being. And yet there's still racism, sexism, the slandering of the overweight, the disabled, the mentally impaired, the old, the young, anyone and everyone. That is not right. Despite a person's choices or beliefs, they should be loved just like everyone else. Not that we should just overlook anything we might disagree with, but be willing to set negativity aside for the chance of understanding and being able to cooperate despite differences. Maybe then, people wouldn't be questioning their own being. But even if people still did, that shouldn't change the need to love them. Still, I think it's a shame that anyone should feel any discomfort in their own body, and an even greater shame that they would feel the need to change their body in order to find happiness at last. But it happens, and I truly, full-heartedly hope they find all the happiness in the world, as I do for everyone, even those who hate me. I just hope people don't go changing their identity, believing it's the key to their happiness. Have you ever wondered to yourself, should I change my gender? Well, I believe changing gender isn't necessary. We can change ourselves into the people we want to be, in the same body we were born with.